The EPA confirmed it. A combination of 3 ingredients, white vinegar, hydrogen peroxide, and baking soda, destroys mold at the cellular level permanently. Total cost, under $3. And yet, walk into any grocery store right now. You will find an entire aisle of mold sprays priced between $18 and $40. None of them are required to outperform that $3 mix. Several studies suggest they don't. The mold remediation industry in the United States alone generates $7.4 billion every year. That number only works if mold keeps coming back. Here's what nobody in that industry wants trending on your search history. The solution has existed for centuries, costs almost nothing, and the reason it's absent from store shelves has nothing to do with whether it works. If you want to understand how a $7 billion industry survives a $3 solution, subscribe. Because this is not really a story about mold. It's a story about how economics decides what you're allowed to easily find. This isn't a cleaning video. This is a story about market architecture. The invisible system that decides which solutions reach consumers and which ones quietly disappear. The question was never whether cheap solutions work. Researchers settled that decades ago. The real question is who benefits when they stay invisible. The answer pulls together corporate lobbying, EPA registration economics, retail shelf pricing strategy, and a repeat purchase business model worth billions. Every layer connects. Today we're breaking down the science, history, and economics behind the mold removal industry. By the end of this video, you won't just know what actually kills mold. You'll understand exactly why the system steers you away from the cheapest answer and who collects the money every time it does. The pattern you're about to see doesn't stay in the cleaning aisle. It shows up in healthcare, housing, and food. Let's get into it. People were using vinegar and lime to control mold and bacteria on walls long before the first commercial cleaning product existed. Roman builders used lime wash on stone surfaces specifically because it created an alkaline environment where mold could not survive. This wasn't folk wisdom. It was functional chemistry that worked for centuries. In 2006, the EPA formally updated its mold remediation guidelines and acknowledged that bleach, the product recommended to American households for over 60 years, does not eliminate mold on porous surfaces. It removes the color. The mold structure underneath survives and regrows. The U.S. bleach market still generates over $1.2 billion annually. The science changed. The industry recommendation did not. That gap, between what research confirms and what gets sold, is exactly what this channel examines. The CDC quietly updated its mold guidance in 2019. Bleach is no longer recommended for mold removal on porous surfaces like wood, drywall, or grout. That update received almost no media coverage and $0 in public awareness campaigns. Here is why that matters economically. Bleach works on non-porous surfaces like glass or tile because mold cannot root into them. On porous surfaces, the ones where mold actually grows in homes, bleach removes pigment from the surface layer, while the mold's high-fall roots survive deeper in the material. Within 2 to 4 weeks, the colony regrows, often larger and darker than before. This is not a flaw that went unnoticed. It is a cycle that generates consistent repurchase behavior. A household that treats the same mold patch 4 times a year is worth significantly more to a cleaning product manufacturer than a household that solves the problem once. The U.S. retail cleaning product market was valued at $31 billion in 2024. Repeat purchases drive that number. A permanent solution at $3 is not a product. It has no margin, no repeat cycle, and no retail shelf value. You have probably spent $40 or more over the past 2 years on mold or mildew sprays and watched the problem return every single time. That return is not a coincidence. It is the business model functioning exactly as designed. The barrier here is not chemistry. It is the economic value of an unsolved problem.
Would you keep buying the same spray if you understood this cycle?
Researchers at the University of North Carolina published findings confirming that acetic acid, the active compound in white vinegar, penetrates the cellular membrane of mold organisms and destroys their reproductive structure. It does not bleach the mold. It kills it at the biological level. Undiluted white vinegar at 5% acidity applied directly to a mold surface and left for 60 minutes eliminates the colony structure. This was not a fringe study. It has been replicated across multiple peer-reviewed microbiology papers. White vinegar costs approximately 0.09 per ounce. The leading branded mold sprays cost between 0.85 and 1.20 per ounce. They are not required by law to demonstrate superior efficacy to qualify for shelf placement. Retailers price by margin, not by performance. There is another economic reality buried here. White vinegar cannot be patented. Acetic acid is a naturally occurring compound with no proprietary chemistry. No patent means no exclusivity. No exclusivity means any competitor can produce it, which collapses the price to commodity level. A commodity-priced solution generates no marketing budget, no retail incentive, and no sponsored research promoting its use. The cleaning industry does not suppress vinegar because it doesn't work. It ignores vinegar because there is no financial mechanism to profit from promoting it. That distinction is critical. This is not a conspiracy. It is standard market economics applied to a substance that refuses to be monetized. If you had known this a decade ago, how much money would still be in your pocket? The World Health Organization lists hydrogen peroxide as an essential disinfectant on its global medicines and health products list. It is used in hospitals, food processing facilities, and water treatment plants worldwide. It is also almost entirely absent from commercial mold removal products sold to consumers. A 3% hydrogen peroxide solution, the standard brown bottle available at any pharmacy for under $2, oxidizes mold at the protein level. When it contacts organic matter like mold colonies, it releases oxygen radicals that break down the mold's cellular proteins, killing it on contact. The foaming reaction you see is the chemistry working in real time. Commercial mold products that use oxidizing chemistry, and some do, charge between $20 and $35 for a formula that achieves the same mechanism at similar or lower concentrations. The active chemistry is comparable. The price difference is branding, packaging, and shelf positioning. The regulatory layer adds another dimension. The EPA requires any product that legally claims to kill mold on its label to be registered as a pesticide under the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. Full registration costs between $500,000 and $2 million per formula. That cost is manageable for a corporation selling 30 million units annually. It is an insurmountable barrier for a small producer trying to bring an affordable hydrogen peroxide formula to market with honest label claims. The regulation was designed for consumer protection. Its practical effect is market protection for incumbents. Small innovators cannot afford the label. Large manufacturers can. The affordable solution never reaches the shelf with the words that would make consumers choose it. Does this change how you think about what's actually in your cleaning cabinet? Sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, does something that neither vinegar nor hydrogen peroxide does alone. It changes the surface chemistry of whatever it's applied to, raising the pH to a level where mold organisms cannot establish new colonies. It doesn't just address the current problem. It structurally alters the environment to resist future growth. A paste of baking soda applied to bathroom grout, left to dry and brushed away leaves and alkaline residue in the microscopic pores of the material. Mold spores that land on that surface afterward find a hostile chemical environment. This is genuine prevention, not marketing language. The mold prevention segment of the U.S. cleaning market is worth approximately $900 million annually. The products in that segment, sprays, sealants, treated surfaces, are largely built around sodium-based chemistry at their core. Baking soda costs $0.02 per application. The retail prevention spray costs $12 to $20 and delivers a similar sodium compound diluted with water, fragrance, and stabilizers. The combination of these three ingredients, vinegar to kill, hydrogen peroxide to disinfect, baking soda to prevent, addresses the complete cycle of a mold problem for under $3. No single commercial product on the market claims to do all three things simultaneously, because doing so would eliminate the need for multiple product purchases. A household with a persistent mold issue might currently buy a remover, a disinfectant, and a prevention spray separately. That is 3 products, 3 price points, and 3 repeat purchase cycles. The $3 solution collapses all of that into one. Why do you think this combination has never appeared on a store shelf? To legally print the words kills mold on a product label in the United States, a manufacturer must register that product with the EPA as a pesticide under FIFRA, the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. The registration process requires laboratory efficacy testing, toxicology data, environmental impact assessments, and regulatory review. The total cost per formula ranges from $500,000 to $2 million. The timeline runs between 2 and 5 years. This means a small company that develops an effective, affordable, vinegar-based mold solution faces a structural impossibility. They can sell the product. They cannot legally describe what it does on the label without completing a multi-year, multi-million-dollar registration process. Large corporations with established product lines spread that registration cost across enormous sales volumes. The cost per unit becomes negligible. For a startup or independent producer, that same cost is the entire business. The result is a marketplace where the best-performing affordable solutions exist. They are sold as general-purpose cleaners, as cooking vinegar, as first-aid antiseptics, but cannot be marketed to consumers as mold solutions. The label is the product in retail. No label claim means no consumer awareness, means no market share. This is not a flaw in the regulatory design. It is an unintended consequence that creates predictable market outcomes. Whether the intent was protective or not, the effect is the same. The regulatory cost structures the market in favor of large incumbents and against affordable alternatives. The consumer pays the difference every time they walk down the cleaning aisle. Is the system protecting your health or protecting the revenue of the companies that already dominate the shelf? If you've stayed this far, you've already seen the pattern. Cheap solutions exist. Labels block them. Profit depends on the problem continuing. This next section is where the system gets exposed at its deepest level. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, hit subscribe and drop a like. This is the content that rarely gets made. The mold remediation industry operates through a private certification body called the IICRC, the Institute of Inspection, Cleaning, and Restoration Certification. It sets the professional standards for how mold is assessed, treated, and cleared in residential and commercial properties across the United States. It also receives funding from industry stakeholders, including cleaning product manufacturers and remediation equipment suppliers. The average professional mold remediation job costs between $3,500 and $10,000. Complex cases involving HVAC systems or structural infiltration reach $30,000 or more. These figures are based on labor, containment equipment, commercial-grade products, and post-treatment testing, all of which flow back through the certified supply chain. The EPA estimates that up to 70% of American homes have experienced mold at some point. That is a market that essentially never runs out of customers. But here's the structural conflict embedded in this system. The certification body that trains and certifies remediation professionals is financially connected to the industry those professionals purchase from. There is no curriculum component dedicated to teaching homeowners how to prevent or address early-stage mold themselves. Prevention education would reduce billable remediation jobs. This is not unique to mold. The same dynamic appears in pest control, HVAC maintenance, and residential waterproofing. The industry that profits from recurring problems is rarely the one funding education about permanent solutions. The knowledge exists. The distribution channel for that knowledge has no business model. The World Health Organization's 2023 air quality report linked indoor mold exposure to more than 300 million chronic respiratory cases globally. That includes asthma, allergic rhinitis, hypersensitivity pneumonitis, and fungal infections, conditions that disproportionately affect low-income households living in older, poorly ventilated housing stock. Healthcare costs attributable to mold-related illness in the United States exceed $3.7 billion annually, according to estimates published in the journal Environmental Health Perspectives. That figure covers emergency visits, prescription medications, specialist consultations, and lost productivity. Against that backdrop, public health campaigns on indoor air quality focus almost entirely on medication access and clinical treatment. There are no federally funded campaigns directing households to the $3 solution. The CDC's mold guidance exists on a government webpage. It has no advertising budget, no retail presence, and no commercial incentive promoting its visibility. The economic logic is consistent. The pharmaceutical response to mold-related respiratory illness generates revenue. The cleaning product response generates revenue. The construction response, remediating mold-damaged structures, generates revenue. A $3 preventive solution that interrupts all three of those revenue streams at the source generates nothing for any of those industries. This mirrors the economic pattern seen in preventive nutrition versus pharmaceutical intervention, in water quality infrastructure versus bottled water sales, and in energy efficiency versus energy consumption. The system does not suppress cures. It simply has no financial mechanism to amplify them. In Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, India, Bangladesh, and Brazil, vinegar, lime, and baking soda have functioned as standard household mold and bacterial control solutions for generations. Not because of scientific literature, because economic necessity made expensive alternatives inaccessible. The result, unintentionally, was that households in these regions were applying genuinely effective chemistry while wealthier markets were spending more money for less durable results. When the wellness and natural cleaning movement accelerated in Western markets after 2012, entrepreneurs began repackaging these solutions. Diluted white vinegar in branded spray bottles entered the U.S. market at prices between $12 and $18 per bottle. The label said natural, plant-based, and non-toxic. It did not say this is vinegar. Some of these brands reached 8-figure annual revenues. The knowledge was never lost. It was never secret. It was simply unprofitable to promote in high-consumption markets where the alternative was a $30 branded product with a television advertising budget. When the same chemistry was reframed as a wellness product with premium packaging, the market accepted it at a markup exceeding 1,000% over the raw ingredient cost. This is the final layer of the economic pattern. Affordable solutions do not disappear. They get repositioned. They return to the market at a price point that restores the margin. The consumer ends up paying a premium for something that was always available at commodity cost, because the system that distributes information about effective solutions is the same system that profits from selling expensive ones. The $3 mix didn't need to be invented. It needed a marketing budget, and that budget never came. Whether it's mold removal, drug pricing, food preservation, or housing materials, the pattern is the same. Affordable solutions exist. They have existed for decades, sometimes centuries. The barrier was never technology. The barrier is economics. Specifically, the structural reality that systems protect the revenue streams they depend on. The decisions made inside regulatory agencies, certification bodies, and retail pricing desks shape what you find, what you buy, and what you believe is available. That is the story behind the $3 mix, and it repeats everywhere you look. If this video changed how you see the cleaning aisle, or any industry that profits from a problem it could help you solve, subscribe to World Economics Explained. Every week we pull back the system behind something ordinary and show you the economic architecture underneath it. The next video will make you rethink something you've trusted for years. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if this one was worth your time, share it, because the people who need to see this most are the ones still buying the $30 spray.